Newton had never beat the Seahawks the 4 times they've met until Sunday. The Panthers beat Seattle and are now 5-0. They stay perfect. Stephen A., do you credit Cam or are you blaming the Seahawks for this?
It's a combination of both. I certainly would put the blame on the Seahawks more so than anything else because this is foreign territory, even though, 4 of their losses this year, along with the Super Bowl loss, have all come with, blown signals or missed communication or what have you on the defensive side of the ball. They've got to clean that up. That's a problem. I'll get into that for a second. But before I do that, Skip Bayless, let me sit there and give Cam Newton a lot of credit. 12 of 15, I think, for like 162 yards, a 133 passer rating in the fourth quarter. He was absolutely spectacular when counted on most. And I do owe the Carolina Panthers an apology. I did say when they tweeted at me last night, how you like that, Stephen A., or something along those lines. I must confess I owe the Carolina Panthers an apology. I never dreamed in my wildest dreams that an offense with Ted Ginn as a primary option or pretty much just Greg Olsen and that's it, could sit up there and do what they ended up doing. The Carolina Panthers deserve a whole lot of credit, and I got to look at this team a little bit differently because this defense is back. Obviously, Kuechly doing what he did. He was a man amongst boys on the defensive side of the ball. Yep. They deserve a lot of credit. Offensively, Cam Newton is just big time. He's showing up and showing why he's considered one of the young stars in this league. He's really growing into his own. Obviously, there's still considerable room for improvement, but I think that the front office could considerably improve by getting him additional personnel to work with on the offensive side of the ball. But there's no question that he is doing his thing, and he deserves a lot of credit, and the Carolina Panthers deserve a lot of credit. With the Seattle Seahawks, let me say this, Skip Bayless. They are not the team that I picked to go to the Super Bowl. I'm sticking with them. I'm not jumping ship. I believe in the Legion of Boom. I believe in this defense. I believe in the talent that they have on their roster. But let me tell you something. I saw Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman ultimately going at it on that last touchdown, that 26-yard touchdown catch to Greg Olsen from Cam. All right. I saw ultimately Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman looking at one another. Earl Thomas said Richard Sherman was closer to the sidelines. He probably got the signal, but at the same time, it didn't get conveyed to the rest of the troops. You had Pete Carroll taking the blame for it, saying, it was a miscommunication, and some people may have, one side of the defense was playing one form of defense, the other side was playing something else. They don't seem on the same page, and they don't seem like the same individuals. Number one, they don't seem like they trust their coach. Number two, they don't seem like they trust each other. Number three, who the hell has Richard Sherman become? Did you see him in his post-game interviews? I mean, we just got to go back to the film room and go back to the drawing board. I'm like, who is this guy? Where's that Rough Rider? Where's the dog? That's what I need. I need to see the old Richard Sherman back. I understand that, he's a proud poppy and, marriage. God bless him. He's a great dude. I need the old Richard Sherman back. That's what I need. I don't see. I know that he's an elite corner. I know that he's proven himself. I know that he was deserving of his money when he got his money. But I don't see the same Richard Sherman. I don't see that Rough Rider that's getting in everybody's face. Cam Chancellor, he don't look like himself. Earl Thomas, I don't know what the hell is going on. But I think that Super Bowl loss is something that they still have not recovered from. I think that they don't trust their coaches. And as of right now, that has led them to question one another while they're on the field together. Skip. They've had the lead in the fourth quarter about 4 times. You understand? I mean, they lost all 4. I mean, they don't seem like themselves. Something is amiss. It ain't talent. It ain't personnel. It's
Dan Quinn.
Listen, I understand that, but Dan Quinn was there at the Super Bowl. All I'm saying is they don't seem like themselves. The Rough Riders that I picked to win the Super Bowl, you know what the Seattle Seahawks are right now, Skip Bayless? Just a good football team. Even though the record doesn't indicate it, they're just a talented football team. But they're not a team. They don't seem to be playing together. I think the residual effects of that Super Bowl loss because of how they lost has been even more devastating than I imagined.
Is Richard still eating Oberto beef jerky?
Yes.
Did he quit? Maybe he stopped. I don't know.
Maybe it's that voice in his
I don't know.
stomach.
He needs you to be screaming at him from down below, right?
Maybe so. Maybe
I don't know.
It's a voice
Something's
in the stomach.
different.
I'm coming up with a voice in the stomach. I don't know what the hell's going on. I need to see that dog in them. I need to see the rough ride. I don't see it. I see a guy, and they're losing games, man, and Richard Sherman's at the locker like this, Skip. We're going to be all right. We just got to go back to the film. Everything's going to be okay. I'm like, who is this guy? Who is he right now? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, to your point, I did see him. He was pointing a finger at Earl Thomas while the ball was still in the air to Greg Olsen for the touchdown.
Right.
Because he's smart enough to know.
By the way, I didn't mean to bring up whether he's married now, because I don't know whether he's married to Gates or whatever, but I don't know that.
Okay.
But I'm just saying,
No
God
problem.
bless him. Yeah.
No problem. Okay, so here's what's going on. As I keep saying from the start of this year, this team has lost its winning edge because it has led in all 6 fourth quarters this year. So it keeps doing what it used to do the last 2 years. And then when it's time to close the deal, it was very lucky that it closed 2 other deals, because one of those deals was the Detroit deal at home. Remember that one?
Right.
Yeah.
How lucky were you not to blow that fourth quarter lead? Because you let them drive almost 91 yards for the winning touchdown. Remember the bat out of hell play? Okay, so you could have blown 5 out of 6 fourth quarter leads, and you only hung on to 1 maybe if you lose the Detroit.
Right.
So you lost your lead at Rams, and there's no shame in that. That's a division rival. The Rams play great against anybody in that division. At Green Bay, probably no shame in that. At Cincinnati, I don't know. I think there's a little shame there because I'm still not sold on the Bengals. I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
You could put Cincinnati in the mix because Seattle was up 24-7.
Come on, 24-7.
They were up 24-7.
And then Carolina, you have had this quarterback's number 4 straight times. It's almost like Brady versus Luck, except it's the boom versus luck. And Cam struggled through this game. He was 4 out of 12 at halftime, and his QBR for the whole game was only 50, which is just mediocre scale of 0 to 100. But to your point, when it's winning time, as Magic Johnson used to say, they don't win. They lose. They blow it. And Cam was special. This was a special football game for Cam Newton. This was a statement game, not only for his team, but especially for him against that defense in that stadium. And for him to be so clutch down the stretch. And that throw he made, I know they completely blew the defense. It was a wide open throw. But you got to give it up to Cam for making the right read at the right time and laying it right on the money to a tight end who's going to make his 2nd straight Pro Bowl. That guy's pretty good. You've kidded him about being a politician when he comes on here. So listen, he's a player, man.
Really good.
Yeah, he's really good. So at least Cam
Actually, it's your boy Jay Feely that I talk about.
Okay. Well, you kidded him he was going to be a mayor or something when he was on here. But the point is, Greg Olsen at least gives Cam one kind of legit target. I don't know about Ted Ginn. It's okay. But obviously there's no Kelvin Benjamin. So it was really a landmark win for Cam Newton, but it came at the expense of a team that did lose its defensive coordinator, and they elevated that young coach, that Chris Richard, who's been with Pete Carroll since back in his USC days, but he's only 35 years old. He was the DB coach last year.
That's fair.
So he's got to be close to these guys. Is he too close to them? Have they lost their... I just think it started with the final play of the Super Bowl, and they still haven't recovered from it. We see this from time to time where a Super Bowl loser, it'll be such a hangover going into the next year. There'll be such residue from the loss, so much finger pointing, so much bad blood starting to build in the locker room.
Well, I don't think it's about finger pointing. Here's what I believe. This is just my personal opinion. I think as you watch the Seattle Seahawks, it's not a matter of them pointing the finger at guys because, oh, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. It's that they don't trust their coach any longer. And it ain't because he made a bad call. It's because of their reasons for why he did it in their minds. When you didn't give Marshawn Lynch that ball in the Super Bowl, you basically said, this Rough Rider right here, we don't want him to be the hero. We want the hero to be Russell Wilson.
I mean,
here's the problem.
That's what you think.
That's what I think.
All right.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that. On the squad, you got nothing but Rough Riders. So because of it, You got to remember, you know, the identity and the fabric of this team, they believed in you. They rode with you. They didn't question anything when it came from you. Now, all they've got is questions. But it's not all of them.
That's true.
Some of them may, some of them may not. And as a result, that's where the friction and the divide exists as far as I'm concerned. You can listen all day long. You can swear that you stand by the coach all day long. But the results and your behavior on the field, when those results actually transpire, shows and displays something's amiss. You can't have that many forms of miscommunication taking place if you're literally listening and communicating. You're not. You're tuning somebody out at some point. There's got to be a reason why. That's just my humble opinion, but that's where I'm at.
So bottom line, what has been the biggest offensive issue facing this team?
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham. And what happened yesterday? They plugged that leak because he throws 12 balls to Jimmy Graham and he catches 8 for 140 yards.
That's right.
That's pretty good. So it's starting to look like, oh, here they come. And there they went. Boy, that's no good.
But Marshawn Lynch also only had 54 yards rushing. Let me tell you something. That kid that played
Rawls
before him, that Rawls, let me tell you something. Can't, you know, Beast Mode better show up and act like Beast Mode because Seattle looks like they've got options.
They did get a little help, though, with Arizona losing, and we'll get into that next. Mike Vick leaves the game, but the Steelers beat the Cardinals with their third-string quarterback. So is this the end of the Vick era? We'll discuss that next.
Am I going first?